Good morning, good morning. All right, so we were in the middle of chapter 22 when I was so rudely cut off by my device not having enough memory. Apparently, when you do 31-hour videos, you use up all your memory. So, we were actually starting on a section of genealogy, so let's just continue from there. I was really appreciating the story about Ishmael and his wife, Meribah, being ousted for a wife of better caliber, because it's a really good moral story about what does it mean to be a good wife or hostess in a very concise story. I even shared it with my daughters. I hope it means something to them instead of just, okay, well, there's Dad talking about this again. All right. So we were talking about how any man who came to Abraham's house, he would give them bread, eat, and drink until they were satisfied. And I thought that was a really good lesson for any of the guys. So if there's stories that are like, here's what it means to be a good wife, well, here's what it means to be a good man. Being a pillar of strength, a pillar of spirituality, pillar of being a good host. I'm certain there is a specific word I'm looking for, but I'm not finding it. Anyways, we'll just start at verse 14 and go from there, because that's about where I was. So, and Abraham and his children and all belonging to him dwelt in Beersheba as he pitched his tent as far as Hebron. That's when I started looking up everything about where it was. And Abraham's brother Nahor and his father and all belonging to them in Haran, for they did not come with Abraham to the land of Canaan. And the children were born to Nahor, which Milcah, the daughter of Haran, and sister to Sarah, Abraham's wife, bare to him. And these are the names of those that were born to him: Uz, Buz, Kemuel, Kesed, Chezo, Pildash, Tidlaf, and Bethuel, being 8 sons. These are the children of Milcah, which she bare to Nahor, Abraham's brother. And Nahor had a concubine, and her name was Reumah, and she also bare to Nahor Zebek, Gachash, Takash, and Macha, being 4 sons. And the children that were born to Nahor were 12 sons besides his daughters. And they also had children born to them in Haran. And the children of Uz, the firstborn of Nahor, were Abi, Sheref, Gadin, Melus, and Deborah, their sister. And the sons of Buz were Berichel, Naamath, Sheva, Madonu. And the sons of Kemuel were Aram and Rehob. And the sons of Kesed were Anamlech, Mashai, Benon, and Yiphi. And the sons of Chezo were Pildash, Mechi, and Ophir. And the sons of Pildash were Arud, Kamum, Mered, and Moak. And the sons of Tildaf were Mushan, Kushan, and Mutzi. And the children of Bethuel were Shechar, Laban, and their sister Rebekah. These are the families of the children of Nahor that were born to them in Haran. And Aram, the son of Kemuel, and Rehob, his brother, went away from Haran, and they found a valley in the land by the river Euphrates. And they built a city there, and they called the name of the city after the name of Pethor, the son of Aram. That is Aram Naharaim, unto this day, which there's a star by the translator who they say Mesopotamia. Don't know how accurate that presumption is, but okay, sure. I mean, it's Euphrates, so. And the children of Kesed also went to dwell there where they could find a place, and they went and they found a valley opposite to the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they built themselves a city, and they called the name of the city Kesed after the name of their father, and that is the land of Kasdim, or Chaldea is their footnote, unto this day. And Kasdim dwelt in the land that they were fruitful and multiplied exceedingly. And Terah, the father of Nahor and Abraham, went and took another wife in his old age. So Abraham's father in his old age took another wife. and her name was Pelilah, and she conceived. Odd. Bear him, I think they meant and, but they flipped the N upside down for a U. And bare him a son, and he called his name Zobah. And Terah lived 25 years after he begat Zobah. And Terah died in that year, that is in the 35th year of the birth of Isaac, son of Abraham. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and he was buried in Haran. And Zobah the son of Terah lived 30 years, and he begat Aram, Achlis, and Merich. And Aram, son of Zobah, son of Terah, had 3 wives, and he begat 12 sons and 3 daughters. And the Lord gave to Aram, the son of Zobah, riches and possessions, and abundance of cattle and flocks and herds. And the man increased greatly, and Aram, the son of Zobah, and his brother and all his household journeyed from Haran, and they went to dwell where they should find a place, for their property was too great to remain in Haran, for they could not stop in Haran together with their brethren, the children of Nahor. And Aram, the son of Zobah, went with his brethren, and they found a valley at the distance toward the eastern country, and they dwelt there. And they also built a city there, and they called the city the name of their Aram, and the city, after the name of their eldest brother, that is Aram Zobah, to this day. Can we not do that on those good chairs? Sorry, my cat was sharpening his claws. I need to clip those things. Anyways, I missed a few words on the last page. There we go. And Isaac, the son of Abraham, was growing up in those days, and Abraham his father taught him the ways of the Lord, to know the Lord, and the Lord was with him. And when Isaac was 37 years old, Ishmael his brother was going about with him in the tent. We don't get this in Genesis. And Ishmael boasted of himself to Isaac, saying, I was 13 years old when the Lord spoke to my father to circumcise us, and I did according to the word of the Lord, which he spoke to my father. And I gave my soul unto the Lord, and I did not transgress his word, which he commanded my father. And Isaac answered Ishmael, saying, Why dost thou boast to me about this? About a little bit of thy flesh, which thou didst take from thy body, concerning which the Lord commanded thee. As the Lord liveth, the God of my father Abraham, if the Lord should say to my father, Take now thy son Isaac, and bring him up an offering before me, I would not refrain, but I would joyfully accede to it. Okay, so this is the good stuff right here, okay? You got a rivalry going. Now, this is interesting because this is Isaac. He's 37. He's not a kid. We depict Abraham and Isaac like Isaac. We depict him maybe as an older boy, something like maybe in his mid-teens to older teens, maybe in our art depictions. And we have Isaac as this really old guy. Now, Isaac is getting old at this point. Remember, he lived to 197 or something, and so he's in his 130 years. Okay. So, here's the challenge. Hey, I got circumcised when I was 13. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, if God said I'd be a sacrifice, then I'd be a sacrifice. And the Lord heard the word of Isaac spoke to Ishmael, and it seemed good in the sight of the Lord. And he thought to try Abraham in this matter. And the day arrived when the sons of God came and placed themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with the sons of God before the Lord. The Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said to Satan, What is thy word to me concerning all the children of the earth? And Satan answered, and the Lord said, I have seen all the children of the earth who serve thee, and remember thee when they require anything from thee. And when thou givest them the things which they require from thee, they sit at their ease, and forsake thee, and remember thee no more. Hast thou seen Abraham the son of Terah, who at first had no children? And he served thee, and erected altars to thee whenever he came, and he brought up offerings upon them. And he proclaimed thy name continually to all the children of the earth. And now that his son Isaac is born to him, he has forsaken thee. He has made a great feast for all the inhabitants of the land, and the Lord he has forgotten. For amidst all that he has done, he brought thee no offering, neither burnt offering, nor peace offering, neither ox, lamb, or goat of all that he killed on the day that his son was weaned. Even from the time his son's birth till now, being 37 years, he built no altar before thee, nor brought any offering to thee, for he saw that thou didst give what he requested before thee, and he therefore forsook thee. And the Lord said to Satan, Hast thou thus considered my servant Abraham? For there is none like him upon the earth, a perfect and upright man before him, one that feareth God and avoideth evil. As I live, were I to say to him, Bring up Isaac thy son before me, he would not withhold him from me. Much more, if I told him to bring up a burnt offering before me from his flock or herds. And Satan answered the Lord and said, Speak then now unto Abraham, as thou hast said, and thou wilt see whether he will not this day transgress and cast aside thy words. So, here's Isaac and Ishmael having a bout of words. And this is mirrored in this story about God and Satan saying, Oh, really? Well, let's see, shall we? Frankly, I think this is interesting because it gives two reasons why Abraham was going to be asked to sacrifice Isaac. Well, three, depending on how finally you want to split hairs. One is that his son was willing to assent to it. The second was that God thought that it was good to try this out. Are they both going to be willing to actually sacrifice everything? And so, let's keep reading. Let's find out. Whether it's a bargain or a hey, let's prove Satan wrong kind of thing. But to me, in Jonah Barnes' book, Lost Gems of Genesis, he cobbles together more resources besides just the Book of Jasher, and shows that he makes a very good point about how Abraham was always looking for what's the true God, what's the real God. He was testing it out and finding a God that could actually walk and talk and converse with one another and was the creator, something bigger than the sun, and bigger than the moon, and bigger than the stars, the one who created everything. And so when he found it in the Lord, he found rest and home there. But the idea of sacrificing Isaac, like God the Father sacrificed his son, will truly make Abraham one of the few people who could say he is a friend of God, because he had to walk the same path voluntarily, like God the Father had to walk voluntarily to sacrifice his own son. So that's why I find this much more important. So let's keep going. Chapter 23. And at that time the word of the Lord came to Abraham, and he said unto Abraham, and he said, Here am I. Oh, sorry, that was just really interesting how they put it. So the word of the Lord came to Abraham, and he said unto Abraham, and he said unto him, Abraham, and he said, Here am I. There we go. And he said to him, Take now thy son, thy only son, whom thou lovest, even Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains, which shall be shown to thee, for there wilt thou see a cloud, and the glory of the Lord. Okay, this is new as well. And Abraham said within himself, How shall I separate my son Isaac from Sarah his mother, in order to bring him up for a burnt offering before the Lord? And Abraham came unto the tent, and he sat before Sarah his wife, and he spoke these words to her, My son Isaac is grown up, and he has not for some time studied the service of his God. Now, tomorrow, I will go and bring him to Shem, and Eber his son, and there he will learn the ways of the Lord. For they will teach him to know the Lord, as well as to know that he prayeth continually before the Lord, and he will answer him. Therefore he will know the way of the serving Lord his God. Kinda. And Sarah said, Thou hast spoken well. Go to my lord, do unto him as thou hast said, but remove him not at a great distance from me, neither let him remain there too long, for my soul is bound within his soul. Ouch. And Abraham said to Sarah, My daughter, let us pray to the Lord, our God, that he may do good with us. And Sarah took her son Isaac, and he abode all that night with her. And she kissed and embraced him, and gave him instructions till morning. And she said to him, O my son, how can my soul separate itself from thee? And she still kissed him and embraced him, and she gave Abraham instructions concerning him. And Sarah said to Abraham, O my lord, I pray thee, take heed of thy son, and place thine eyes over him, for I have no other son nor daughter but him. Wow, they're really twisting the knife with this one, aren't they? Oh, forsake him not. For he be hungry, give him bread, and if he be thirsty, give him water to drink. Do not let him go on foot, neither let him sit in the sun. Neither let him go by himself in the road, neither force him from whatever he may desire. But do unto him as he may say to thee. And Sarah wept bitterly, and the whole night, on account of Isaac. And she gave him instructions till morning. And in the morning Sarah reflected a very fine and beautiful garment for those garments which she had in the house, that Abimelech had given to her. And she dressed Isaac her son therewith, and she put a turban upon his head, and she enclosed a precious stone in the top of the turban, and she gave him provision for the road, and they went forth, and Isaac went with his father Abraham, and some of their servants accompanied them to see them off the road. And Sarah went out with them, and she accompanied them upon the road to see them off, and they said to her, Return to the tent. And when Sarah heard the words of her son Isaac, she wept bitterly, and Abraham her husband wept with her, and their son wept with them, a great weeping. Also those who went with them wept greatly. Wow! She was, well, I mean, it's her only son, so I can see it. And Sarah caught hold of her son Isaac, and she held him in her arms, and she embraced him, and continued to weep with him. And Sarah said, Who knoweth if after this day I shall ever see thee again? And they still wept together, Abraham, Sarah, and Isaac, and all those that accompanied them, and on the road wept with them. And Sarah afterward turned away from her son, and weeping bitterly. And all her men servants and maidservants returned with her to the tent. And Abraham went with Isaac, his son, to bring them up as an offering before the Lord, and as he had commanded him. And Abraham took 2 of his young men with him, Ishmael the son of Hagar, and Eliezer his servant, and they went together with them. And whilst they were walking in the road, the young men spoke these words to themselves. And Ishmael said to Eliezer, Now my father Abraham is going with Isaac to bring him up for a burnt offering to the Lord, as he commanded him. Now when he returneth, he will give unto me all that he possesses, to inherit after him, for I am his firstborn. And Eliezer answered Ishmael and said, Surely Abraham did cast thee away with thy mother, and swear that thou shouldst not inherit anything of all he possesses. And to whom will he give all that he has with all his treasures? But unto me his servant, who has been faithful in his house, who has served him night and day, and has done all that he has desired of me. To me will he bequeath all at his death, all that he possesses. And whilst Abraham was proceeding with his son Isaac along the road, Satan came and appeared to Abraham in the figure of a very aged man, humble and contrite in spirit. And he approached Abraham and said to him, Art thou silly or brutish, that thou goest to do this thing this day to thine only son? This is getting interesting, because, okay, so not only is it showing in this story expanded stuff about Ishmael and Eliezer coveting stuff that's not rightfully theirs yet, because we kind of know the end of the story because of the Genesis. So, but it's a good idea of, don't count your chickens before they hatch, and, other such idioms that I could place there. But here comes Satan trying to dissuade him as well. For God gave thee a son in thy latter days, in thy old age, and wilt thou go and slaughter him this day, because he committed no violence? And wilt thou cause the soul of thine only son to perish from the earth? Dost thou not know and understand that this thing cannot be from the Lord, For the Lord cannot do unto man such evil upon the earth to say to him, Go slaughter thy child. But Abraham heard this, and knew that it was the word of Satan, who endeavored to draw him aside from the way of the Lord. But Abraham would not hearken to the voice of Satan, and Abraham rebuked him so that he went away. For Latter-day Saints, this is very meaningful in a couple of different ways. I mean, let's be serious here. Abraham knows well how to converse with God, and he knows that this is from God. So he knows that anyone trying to draw away from him would be the adversary, and so he could rebuke him and know how to rebuke him properly, to send him away. And Satan returned and came to Isaac, and he appeared unto Isaac in the figure of a young man, comely and well-favored, so a good-looking young man. And he approached Isaac and said to him, Dost thou not know and understand that thy old silly father bringeth thee to the slaughter this day for naught? Now therefore, my son, do not listen nor attend to him, for he is a silly old man, and let not thy precious soul and beautiful figure be lost from the earth. And Isaac heard this, and said unto Abraham, Hast thou heard my father? And said unto Abraham, Hast thou heard my father, that which this man has spoken? Even thus has he spoken. And Abraham answered his son Isaac, and said to him, Take heed of him, and do not listen to his words, nor attend to him, for he is Satan, endeavoring to draw us aside this day from the commands of God. And Abraham still rebuked Satan, and Satan went from them. And seeing he could not prevail over them, he hid himself from them. And he went and passed before them in the road. And he transfigured himself to a large brook of water in the road. And Abraham and Isaac and his 2 young men reached that place. And they saw a brook large and powerful as the mighty waters. And they entered the brook and passed through it. And the waters at first reached their legs. And they went deeper in the brook, and the waters reached up their necks. And they were all terrified on account of the water. And whilst they were going over the brook, Abraham recognized the place. And he knew that there was no water there before. And Abraham said to his son Isaac, I know this place in which there was no brook nor water. Now therefore it is Satan who does all this to us, to draw us aside this day from the commands of God. And Abraham rebuked him, and said to him, The Lord rebuke thee, O Satan. Begone from us, for we go by the commands of God. And Satan was terrified at the voice of Abraham, and he went away from them, and the place again became dry land, as it was at the first. And Abraham went with Isaac toward the place that God had told him. And on the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place at the distance which God had told him of, and a pillar of fire appeared to him, that reached from the earth to heaven, and a cloud of glory upon the mountain. And the glory of the Lord was seen in the cloud. And Abraham said to Isaac, My son, dost thou see in that mountain, which we perceive at a distance, that which I see upon it? And Isaac answered and said unto his father, I see, and lo, a pillar of fire and a cloud, and the glory of the Lord is seen upon the cloud. And Abraham knew that his son Isaac was accepted before the Lord for a burnt offering. And Abraham said to Eliezer unto Ishmael his son, Do you also see that which we see upon the mountain, which is at a distance? And they answered and said, We see nothing more than like the other mountains of the earth. And Abraham knew that they were not accepted before the Lord to go with them. And Abraham said to them, Abide ye here with the ass, whilst I and Isaac my son will go to yonder mount and worship there before the Lord, and then return to you. Now this I find quite fascinating. 2 reasons. First of all, Abraham was smart to sit there and say, I'm seeing something that's not normal, and I know it's a spiritual thing. So my question is, can Isaac see it? Okay, Isaac, you tell me, what do you see? I'm seeing something over there. What do you see? Well, I see this. Okay, it matches what I'm seeing. So we're good here. What about you guys? Do you guys see it? No, it looks like a mountain. Ah, okay. So me and Isaac are going to go there. What does this also remind me of? So the reason it's smart is that way it confirms that he's not really leading Isaac on. Isaac answers of his own free will, honestly and properly, right? And so he knows, and he sees, and he gets it. Okay, this reminds me of Joseph Smith when they were in the Kirtland Temple. Because when Joseph Smith is seeing and talking with Moses, Elijah, etc., all have Cowderies with him. And at the beginning of the vision, if you read in Doctrine and Covenants, he basically does the same thing. He says, I'm seeing these things. What are you seeing? And he's like, oh, I see this too. I'm seeing this and this and this. And so I'm like, oh, interesting. So yeah, seeing visions in these particular details apparently does not come among everyone in the same way. So this is cool. That is a pattern now that I can see between these. Anyways, let's go. They remained in the place. So, and Eliezer and Ishmael remained in that place as Abraham had commanded them. And Abraham took wood for a burnt offering and placed it upon his son Isaac. And he took, again, symbolism of Jesus Christ here. He placed it upon his son Isaac and took the fire and knife, and they both went to that place. And when they were going along, Isaac said to his father, behold, I see here the fire and wood, and where then is the lamb that is to be the burnt offering before the Lord? And Abraham answered his son Isaac, saying, the Lord has made a choice, had made choice of thee, my son, to be a perfect burnt offering instead of the lamb. So he outright tells him, you are the lamb. And Isaac said unto his father, I will do all that the Lord spoke to thee, with joy and cheerfulness of heart. And Abraham again said unto Isaac his son, is there in thy heart any thought or counsel concerning this which is not proper? Tell me, my son, I pray thee. O my son, conceal it not from me. And Isaac answered his father, Abraham, and said unto him, O my father, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, there is nothing in my heart to cause me to deviate either to the right or to the left from the word that he has spoken to thee. Neither limb nor muscle has moved or stirred at this, nor is there in my heart any thought or evil counsel concerning this. But I am of joyful and cheerful heart in this matter. And I say, blessed is the Lord, who has this day chosen me to be a burnt offering before him. And Abraham greatly rejoiced at the words of Isaac, and they went on and came together to that place that the Lord had spoken of. And Abraham approached to build the altar in that place, and Abraham was weeping. And Isaac took stones and mortar until they had finished building the altar. And Abraham took the wood and placed it in order upon the altar which he had built. And he took his son Isaac and bound him in order to place him upon the wood which was upon the altar, to slay him for a burnt offering before the Lord. And Isaac said to his father, bind me securely, and then place me upon the altar, lest I should turn and move, and break loose from the force of the knife upon my flesh, and thereby profane the burnt offering. And Abraham did so. Bind me tighter, Dad. I don't want to accidentally screw this up for you. And Isaac still said to his father, O my father, when thou shalt have slain me and burnt me for an offering, take with thee that which shall remain of my ashes, to bring to Sarah my mother, and say to her, this is the sweet-smelling savor of Isaac. But do not tell her this, if she should sit near a well or upon any high place, lest she should cast her soul after me and die. And Abraham heard the words of Isaac, and he lifted up his voice and wept when Isaac spoke these words. And Abraham's tears gushed down upon Isaac, his son. Oh, jeez. And Isaac wept bitterly. And he said to his father, hasten thou, O my father, and do with me the will of the Lord our God, as he has commanded thee. And the hearts of Abraham and Isaac rejoiced at this thing which the Lord had commanded them. But the eye wept bitterly, whilst the heart rejoiced. And Abraham bound his son Isaac and placed him upon the altar, upon the wood. And Isaac stretched forth his neck upon the altar before his father. And Abraham stretched forth his hand to take the knife to slay his son, as a burnt offering before the Lord. At that time the angels of mercy came before the Lord, and spake to him concerning Isaac, saying, O Lord, thou art a merciful and compassionate king over all that thou hast created in heaven and in earth, and thou supportest them all. Give therefore ransom, and redemption instead of thy servant Isaac, and pity, and have compassion upon Abraham and Isaac his son, who this day performing thy commands. Hast thou seen, O Lord, how Isaac the son of Abraham thy servant is bound down to the slaughter like an animal? Now therefore let thy pity be roused for them, O Lord. At that time the Lord appeared unto Abraham, and called to him from heaven, and said unto him, Lay not thy hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God in performing this act, and in not withholding thy son, thy only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw, and beheld a ram was caught in a thicket by his horns. That was the ram which the Lord God had created in the earth, in the day that he made earth and heaven. For the Lord had prepared this ram from that day to be a burnt offering instead of Isaac. And this ram was advancing to Abraham, when Satan caught hold of him and entangled his horns in the thicket, that he might not advance to Abraham, in order that Abraham might slay his son. And Abraham, seeing the ram advancing to him, and Satan withholding him, fetched him and brought him before the altar. And he loosed his son Isaac from his binding. And he put the ram in his stead. And Abraham killed the ram upon the altar, and brought it up as an offering in the place of his son Isaac. And Abraham sprinkled some of the blood of the ram upon the altar, and he exclaimed, and said, This is the place of my son, and may this be considered this day as the blood of my son before the Lord. And all that Abraham did on this occasion by the altar, he would exclaim and say, This is in the room of my son, and may it this day be considered before the Lord in the place of my son. And Abraham finished the whole of the service by the altar. And the service was accepted before the Lord, and was accounted as if it had been Isaac. And the Lord blessed Abraham and his seed on that day. And Satan went to Sarah, and he appeared to her in the figure of an old man, very humble and meek. And Abraham was yet engaged in the burnt offering before the Lord. And he said unto her, Dost thou not know all the work that Abraham has made with thine only son this day? For he took Isaac, and built an altar, and killed him, and brought him up as a sacrifice upon the altar. And Isaac cried and wept before his father. But he looked not at him, neither did he have compassion over him. And Satan repeated these words, and he went away from her. And Sarah heard all the words of Satan, and she imagined him to be an old man from amongst the sons of men who had been with her son, and had come and told her these things. And Sarah lifted up her voice, and wept and cried out bitterly on account of her son. And she threw herself upon the ground, and she cast dust upon her head, and she said, O my son Isaac, Isaac my son, O that I had this day died instead of thee. And she continued to weep, and said, It grieves me for thee, O my son Isaac, O that I had died this day in thy stead. And she still continued to weep. And she said, It grieves me for thee after I have reared thee and have brought thee up. Now my joy is turned into mourning over thee. I that had a longing for thee, and cried and prayed to God, till I bare thee at 90 years old. And now thou hast served this day before the knife and the fire to be made an offering. But I console myself with thee. My son, in its being the word of the Lord, for thou didst perform the command of thy God. For who can transgress the word of our God, in whose hands is the soul of every living creature? Thou art just, O Lord our God. For all thy works are good and righteous. For I also am rejoiced with thy word, which thou didst command, and whilst mine eye weepeth bitterly, my heart rejoiceth. And Sarah laid her head upon the bosom of one of her handmaids, and she became as still as stone. She afterwards rose up, and went about making inquiries till she came to Hebron. And she inquired of all those whom she met, walking in the road, and no one could tell her what had happened to her son. And she came with her maidservants and menservants to Kiriath Arba, which is Hebron. And she asked concerning her son, and she remained there, while she sent some of her servants to seek where Abraham had gone with Isaac. And they went to seek him in the house of Shem and Eber, and they could not find him. And they sought throughout the land, and he was not there. And behold, Satan came to Sarah in the shape of an old man. And he came and stood before her. And he said unto her, I spoke falsely unto thee, for Abraham did not kill his son, and he is not dead. And when she heard the word, her joy was so exceedingly violent on account of her son, that her soul went out through joy, and she died, and was gathered to her people. And when Abraham had finished his service, he returned with his son Isaac to his young men. And they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and they came home. And Abraham sought for Sarah, and could not find her. And he made inquiries concerning her. And they said unto him, She went as far as Hebron to seek you both where you had gone. And for thus was she informed. And Abraham and Isaac went to her to Hebron. And when they found that she was dead, they lifted up their voices and wept bitterly over her. And Isaac fell upon his mother's face and wept over her. And he said, O my mother, how hast thou left me? And where hast thou gone? O how hast thou left me? And Abraham and Isaac wept greatly, and all their servants wept with them on account of Sarah. And they mourned over her great and heavy mourning. So they actually, wow. I'm going to stop there. I'm stopping there. Wow. I can't take it anymore. Really. Just, here, let me reach into your chest and like squish your heart a whole bunch. Wow. So they tie the sacrifice of Isaac to the death of Sarah, just to really, to really wrench it, don't they? Dang. But I think this shows beautifully in any of our stories that what our own hopes and attitudes should be like before the Lord. That if we're called to suffer through a great many things, that we should be glad. The Lord doesn't stop I don't know. It's a good question. In some ways, it's like you feel the pain and sorrow of Sarah. And yet, at the same time, she turns it around and says, you know what? But it's okay. It's okay. This was done because you were following the commandments of God. So similarly, I would hope and think that we should have that same attitude, that though we weep and are sad at the circumstances that befalls us and our children, that we should be glad and say that it is according to the will of the Lord. I pray that any of us that are suffering some of the hardest things in life, whether that's death, whether that's disease, whether that's discomfort, betrayal, whether that is unjust suffering, I hope that we can steadfastly put our trust in God and His understanding and faith in Him, that it will be for our betterment. The Bible has so many good stories to draw from. If you're wrongfully imprisoned, Joseph was there. If you have unjust torment, well, doing good, there's Job, there's Jesus, there's Abraham, there's plenty. There's going to be Jacob, who becomes Israel, going through family strife, Jacob and Esau, and Jacob and his sons, Israel and his sons. you're going through so much, there's so much to draw from. And the ideal is that we can put away from us our selfish sorrows and cheerfully submit to all that the Lord sees to put us through. It's hard. It's hard when obviously you know and feel that you've been wronged, and that it's not fair when someone that you love so desperately and deeply is in pain, is suffering, that their life is, that you had hoped for them has been stripped away from them completely, or just outright been taken from them. So, if you are going through that, I hope these stories give you hope and joy. For Abraham and Isaac, it of course ends well. It ends good. But in the same brightness of hope. So when I was a kid, I never understood the whole faith, hope, and charity at the end. I got the idea of faith, repentance, baptism. Faith, repentance, baptism made sense to me, but the faith, hope, and charity that the Book of Mormon emphasizes through Moroni at the end, I never got that as a kid. As an adult, I'm really getting it now. And it's thanks to these extracurricular readings. When you have faith in Jesus Christ, all the wrongs that you have suffered or currently suffer or will suffer can be made right through him. That even if you don't get a happy ending like Abraham and Isaac, well, here it is, a bitter ending. In this version, it is a bitter ending. Abraham and Isaac don't get to see Sarah again. There was a sacrifice. And in this case, it was sacrificing their wife and their mother, and that she was gone when they returned. So, and I think it's interesting to remember that just because you weep bitterly, it doesn't mean that you can't be held to perfection before the Lord. And it's not some judgmental perfection, but an idea of you can change your bitterness that you feel in your heart to be gratitude, like Sarah did, like Abraham did, like Isaac did. And so it doesn't stop you feeling the powerful, sad, and harsh emotions. But when you have that belief in Jesus Christ, he brings hope. And when you have that true hope, that sting of death and pain and suffering will go away. Doesn't mean that it's instant, but it sure helps. And when you have that hope, it brings you that charity. That knowledge that it's okay. It doesn't matter. You can let things go. You don't have to be slighted and annoyed and angry and bitter about life, about what's happened, what's going to happen. And you can approach everyone with much more love. So, this is what these stories typify. And I hope they come to you at a time that you need. I hope they bring you the joy that you need in your life. If it's been extinguished, I hope this kindles it again. If you've lost sight of it, I hope this brings it back in focus. May the Spirit of God be with you.